They want the chaos theory that they talk about, and at the same time, they know that there'll be revolutions in half the countries in the world, and they also know that they're going to have a third world war because they planned it.
Right.
And so that's where really where we're headed and why it's happening. The elongation, the extent of what's going on in the financial and economic world is being done only as a timing method to bring a synthesis of those two elements together with the disruption and the disassociation caused by a third war.
And what this does, gentlemen, and this takes the Hegelian dialectic, emboldens it, lies it, and puts it in quotations. Because as I said from the outset on this, Bob, and I think you remember me saying this on air, when I saw what was going on with the banking system and I saw how it was being done, I said this is constructed fraud. This has been set up to do exactly what it's doing right now. This is just not a few lousy loans because Acorn put a little pressure on some people to make a few loans that they were probably neither deserving under standard banking practices or loan practices, had nothing to do with it. You know, this has all been kind of like, let's see if we can point the blame elsewhere. Bob, I looked at this right from the outset. This was not an accident. This was constructed fraud, because what they have literally done, not only crashed this economy, but by way of derivatives. And many other greedy people with their hands out around the world took part in this. And we're being blamed for this, by the way. You know, it wasn't any greedy people in any other countries that were buying derivatives, CDOs or whatever. Doesn't matter what it was. It was based on absolutely nothing. It was nothing but kiting paper, if you will. And nobody's gone to jail. Nobody is going to go to jail. But yet we are being asked to sit back. And I want to correct something here because people are getting confused about that. I'm getting emails here. They're saying to me that, well, wait a minute, you're calling these people in Washington, D.C. communists. Communism isn't a form of government. No ideology, just socialism is. But these people with this ideology start to practice this because this is what they know. So, folks, understand something. What you're seeing, and as you rightly pointed out, Bob, it is privatization. It is government, banks, and the private sector working together. Call that fascism. We have a bunch of dingbat socialists in Washington, D.C. They grew up critiqued Karl Marx. You have communists in this country, and we all know, but that's just the butting of heads here. And the ideologies of capitalism and communism, we're going to arrive someplace in the middle. Will you settle for worldwide socialism as a moniker and a flag to fly?
It's called the third way.
There you go.
But,
Blair.
Yeah, I mean, you got to understand, at the G7 this weekend, I mean, they weren't hiding the fact of a new world economic order. I mean, you got Henry Kissinger out there promoting it right now.
Well, I mean, it is.
No wonder that Japanese guy ended up.
It got drunk.
This thing will lead you to drink fast.
We'll take your calls, folks. They're already starting to load up here, and I don't want to get too far behind with your comments and questions. 800-318-9443. And just when you folks thought things can't get any worse, deceivers can't deceive anymore, or liars lie any more than they're already lying, that's what liars do, folks. The total liabilities of the United States government, including future Social Security and Medicare payments that the U.S. government has already committed to pay out, now exceeds $65 trillion. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Bob Chapman put that number at $110 trillion, almost double the amount. Don't you feel better now? Which is the entire gross domestic product of the entire world. According to 2008, and of this one, according to the 2008 financial report of the United States government, which is an official United States government report, otherwise it wouldn't be called the financial report of the United States government, the U.S. actually had a budget deficit of $5.1 trillion in 2008. So why did the Congressional Budget Office report that the federal budget deficit was only $455 billion? in 2008. The difference lies in accounting, and I guess the accountants kind of lie themselves. The CBO's figures are based on cash accounting, while the 2008 financial report of the United States government is based on GAAP accounting, and that GAAP accounting is what is used by all the major firms on Wall Street and is regarded as much more accurate reflection of the financial reality. So why is there a big difference? Well, the Congressional Budget Office is some really bad accounting. When you pay Social Security taxes, the federal government takes the money, and instead of putting it away to pay for your security benefits in the future, supposedly, it takes that money and spends it however it wants. So what about the future Social Security, Medicare benefits the government owes you? There is no money for those payments. The government that money right now to make the budget look better. That's right. You've been conned about this. Now, we had a pretty good idea about this, Bob, that, if the government says something and throws a figure at you, at least times it by 3, and you might be on the low safe side. But this has gotten so far out of hand. What I see what the Congress has just done, and without politicizing it, they didn't know what else to do. They absolutely put themselves in a position that they didn't know what else to do. They could not look at the American people and say, you know what, we're out of answers and we can't even come up with some creative stuff here. So what somebody's bright idea about this was, let's just open up the floodgates of the Treasury, or more importantly, the Fed Reserve banks, because they're the ones that supposedly provide us with these bits, and let's just open up the floodgates and try to chase this out with more debt.
Why do you think gold was the only thing that was up today?
And all other commodities, I don't care if it was corn, rice, copper, whatever it was, gold is sitting at what right now, Robbie?
Well, let me say this. Not one single client, now this is something that Goldman Sachs, Lehman Brothers, Merrill Lynch cannot say, not one single client that has bought from Republic Trading Group since inception has lost a dime.
And nor are they.
No. Everybody's in profit. Even the guys who bought last week are in profit.
Well, and this is what we have been waiting to see when the gold finally starts separating from, and how many times and how many different ways and flavors do they want to believe that gold and silver, commodity like copper or any other metal, a bowl of corn, whatever the case may be. Well, these are just commodities like oil. And they're going to rise and fall in the market. It has to do with speculation, but also market pressures, supply and demand, blah, 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 blah. Finally, we are here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that it has split off from these commodities, and this is what we've been for, to make that distinction and that separation. You're now going to start seeing the gold climb, as well as the silver.
Well, I should add there was there was other stocks that were in the plus column today, and they were all miners.
Well, yeah.
Which made me happy, which made Bob happy.
What'd you say, Bob?
Well, one of the things that I see here is now that gold is underway again, this is kind of a second wave over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I'm getting rumors supposedly from traders and this one and that one. And it's the same thing that starts every time we get a rally. And this government-generated disinformation and propaganda. And you're going to get plenty of it.
Oh, yeah.
We've been saying on this program over and over and over that you should be buying on dips because the market's going higher. Now, I have had a number of people recently say to me via email, well, I'm waiting for a correction. And we've talked about this in the program before. You don't wait for a correction. You're not a professional. You have never been in a trading department, either on the commodity floor pits or in the trading room of any corporation. You don't know anything about trading. If you happen to be right, it's just by chance. I know I was a trader for 25 years. It's a bull market. Don't wait. Buy. What's wrong with you people?
We'll break. We'll be right back. We'll take your calls, 800-313-9443. We'll roll them right after this break. Don't go away.